Welcome to the session where we're going to talk about how you are going to drive efficiency with the flow in the age of Agentforce. Before we start, I would like to remind you that Salesforce is a publicly traded company. You probably haven't seen this slide before. So make your purchasing decision on what is available today. My name is Alexandra Radovanovic. I'm a product management on the Flow team. But before I joined Salesforce, I was a customer and a partner for a decade, and I know how this session can be useful. So I hope what I share today with you, you can take some of my ideas and some of the things that I show and then try and practice in your orgs at home. And before we start, I want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time at the end of the day to join me here. Thanks to everyone joining us through Salesforce Plus. I think the topic we're going to talk about today is important, and I think there's no better time to talk about it than now. So what we are going to talk about today. I want to explain why Flow is an important automation tool when you talk about the Agentforce. And then I want to share some of the best practices on when you're building flows for AI automation, how to do that. And because I want to give a really practical value to what I'm talking about today, I want to dive deep into demos. I want to show you how you can apply Flow and Agentforce to automate some of the real-life business use cases. And in case some of you are just diving into the Flow and Agentforce, I want to just quickly cover the terminology so you can follow through the session. So Flow is a Salesforce declarative automated tool. It's a way for you to visually build automation and then automate things like user interaction, data manipulation, maybe some scheduled action. You're going to hear me talk about invocable actions as well. Invocable action is a reusable Salesforce action that can be used in Flow or Apex and that can handle more complex business processes. You will see me talking about grounding. Grounding is anchoring the automation process into your real-life data or a specific criteria so you can ensure the outcome. And then you will see some of the agent action I'm going to show you. Agent action is the automation process that is being executed by the agent as a result of a specific prompt or a user action. So why is Flow important? Well, Flow, as a declarative automation tool, plays a pivotal role behind the Agentforce, driving the intelligent and scalable workflow. But besides being able to automate processes, Flow can also incorporate a human decision-making element. And this balance between the automation and the human oversight is what makes this relationship so powerful. So why choosing Flow? As I mentioned, Flow is a declarative development tool, which means you don't have to know how to code. You can just click and in a visual way build automation. So that means if you're an admin or if you're a business user or maybe a marketing automation specialist, you can use Flows to build this automation. But at the same time, Flow can benefit from code through invocable action or Lightning Web Components, which means you can handle more complex business logic thanks to the Flow and code collaboration. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about the best practices on how to build Flow for AI automation. But if you follow those best practices, you will have easily updatable, scalable, and modular flows that you can use to combine and then create these agent actions or automation, or you can build a really powerful, scalable automations. Let's talk about a role that Flow plays in the Agentforce. Flow usually automates some of the routine tasks when we come to the Agentforce. And I'm pretty sure that all of you in your orgs already have flows that you built to automate some of the routine tasks or maybe manual processes that your users have been following. The good news is you can reuse those flows now and we'll talk about the Agentforce automation. That means that you already have a piece of automation that's been tested and proven to work, and you can apply that with the Agentforce. That also means you're reducing redundancy. You don't have to keep building flows to automate the Agentforce. You can use what you have. And then you can use those flows and create agent action from them and combine those agent actions into the agent topics, which means you can create standardized workflows that you can then use. And by having all these options, that means that if you have a case management process or maybe sales deal process or marketing automation, by following these agent actions, you can ensure that your business process is followed and your outcome is what you expect. And then you can use these flows that you have and actions and standardized workflows and then use them to build your agent. That means that you can significantly reduce the time needed to build your agent. That enables you to stay agile while building Agentforce. And then last but not least, you have the option to enhance your end user experience. And when I talk about the end user experience, I'm not talking only about your customers who are going to use the agents. I'm talking about your admins, your developers, your marketing automation specialists. By giving them the option to use flows and subflows and evocable actions, you're giving them the option to unleash their creativity and then create these intelligent workflows in a faster and more productive ways. So let's look how we can design flows for AI automation. So one of the things that all of us who like to build flows like to do is when there is something to automate, we just immediately open the flow builder and start building. And I strongly advise against that. You want to think about your business process. You want to outline it end to end, identify all the steps in the business process, and then map and see how you can automate all of this. Which steps should be flow, which steps should be subflow, which step can be just agent action, which can be handled by evocable action. So that means that if you like, you can build one large flow that's going to handle, let's say, case resolution. You can do that. That's going to work for you. But then you might want to tweak one of the steps. But, well, what do? You then have to make the change in that large flow. You have to change everything for just one tweak. You have to test everything again. You have to deploy everything again. And then what happens if you want to make a change to a specific process? Then you have to build another large flow. And that's not scalable, right? So what you should do is you can take this large flow and break it down into the smaller steps, smaller processes. How do you do that? Well, by using subflows and evocable actions. When you're building subflows and evocable actions, you want to make sure that each of them focus on a specific process. So let's use an example. We just said, maybe you want to automate your case resolution process. So what happens when the case is being resolved? You update the case status, you send an email to the customer that case is closed, you send an email to account executive that the case was resolved for the customer, you want to send a CSAT survey to the customer, maybe you want to create a knowledge article. So you can have all these steps separated into separate subflows. And then let's say you want to make a small change when you're sending an email to the customer, maybe you want to add a voucher. Then you can change only that step, only that subflow, and make sure that everything else is working. Or, talking about reusability, maybe you have a professional services engagement with the customer, and when that is done, you want to send a CSAT survey to that customer. That's a different use case, but you can plug the same subflow that you have in the case resolution process in the different one. So the maintaining is easy. So I talked a lot. Let's see how we can apply all of this into the real life scenario. I'm going to go through 3 demos, 3 solutions that you can build to solve the same business process. The first one, I'm going to show how you can build a template trigger prompt flow, use it in a prompt template to ground the information, and then pull the information from that prompt into your field. The second one, I'm going to show you how you can use flows and prompt templates to build agent action. And then I want to go full circle and show you how you can invoke agent from the flow. So we talked about the business case, right? Let's outline the process that we want to build. We want to summarize all open cases on the account. We want to have some kind of human interaction, so we want to have this option to be possible as a manual one when there's an oversight. But at the same time, you might want to have this as an automated one. Maybe you just want to post the summarization of the case when case is updated. You don't want to have an oversight. So we're going to go through all of these. Let's look at the template trigger prompt flows. So this is a prompt template trigger prompt flow. It's called case summarization flow. And what this flow does is actually providing us information how we can ground the information about the case. So let's look at the flow. We're setting up this flow for automating inputs because we're going to use it in a prompt template. We're setting the template type as a field generation capability. And because I'm storing the information on the account object, I'm putting account under the object. So what I want to do next, I want to get information about the cases I want to summarize. So in the get cases element, I'm selecting a case as object, and I'm putting two criteria. Account ID on a case should be equal to the account ID where we want to store this information. And then we look at the case status because we want to summarize open cases. So case status should be not equal closed. And because I'm summarizing all the cases, I want to use all the records and store them. So what I do next, I want to check if there are any open cases. If there are no open cases, I don't want to have any action, right? I don't want to waste my resources. That means that if I have no cases, I'm going to add a prompt instruction that says there are no open cases, I don't want to do anything else. But if I have open cases on the account, then I will go through the loop, which means I have a group of cases I found. I'm going to go through each of them one by one. And for each of those cases, I want to pull the information that I want to provide to summarize. This is the information I want to give. I want to use account ID, I want to use case number, and then some basic information that we need, like case subject, description, case priority, case status, when this case was open, so like something that's a basic information about the case. So let's see how we can use this flow. We're going to go to the prompt builder. This is a prompt builder called summarize all open cases on the account field. And I want to store the summarization of these cases on the account field. You can see my designation in the object field. I have an account and a field called support request summary. So I'm going to the prompt template workspace to give the instruction to the LLM. And I'm saying I want to provide summary of all open cases for the specific account. I'm grounding the information for the LLM by using the account name, going to the resource, clicking on the account, and then selecting account name. And then I want to provide some specifics about like what I want to see the summarization. So I'm saying I want to create one paragraph of summary. I want to have no more than 2,000 characters. I want to have straightforward language. I don't want to have any redundancy. And then I'm giving the information that I want to see. I want to see which case was open the first, what's the number of the open cases, and then some of these basic information that I need. Case description, case subject, case priority, how long case has been open, and I want to make sure that I'm not sharing the case ID. That is not a useful information. I'm getting this information about the cases through this flow that I just built. So I'm adding this flow through option to click a resource, click on flows, and then selecting this specific flow. On the left side, on the bottom, I have a preview, which means this is the information I provided to the LLM. And then on the right side, I have an option to select a record and then click on preview. And this is a way to test and see if my flow is actually going to give a proper information to the prompt template. I see in the response that I actually got what I want. This specific case account has one open case. I have a date when case was open. I have the option to see the summary. I have the option to see the status, priority. I have the case number as well. And if this looks good, I can use this. If I think this should be improved, I can go back to the workspace and play around with more and change the prompt. In my case, I think this is good. I want to use this to summarize the cases on the account. So let's go to the account. Remember, I said I have a support request summary field on the account. I'm going to use this by clicking on edit this case, and then click on this little icon on the side, which means this is an AI-generated field. When I click on this, I'm prompting the template immediately, so I don't have to put anything. And I can see the answer on the side panel. This specific account has two cases. I have which one is the oldest one. I have information about each of the cases that I just wanted. Case number, again, description, subject, priority. And I also can see everything that I need. So if I like what I see, I can click on a use button, and I can actually populate this value on the side panel into the field on the account. If you want to, you can make some manual change. This is a text field. If not, you can just click on save and save the record. So this is how we use the prompt template. Let's look how we can build on top of this. Let's see how we can use flows and prompt builder and prompt template as an agent action. So I'm going to go back to my prompt template trigger flow. We just saw this one. This is the one that provides us information about the case. But what if I want to provide more information? What if I want to include information about the customer in this case? Well, I'm going to build another flow, exactly the same as this one, but just for a contact. And because you might be new with the flow, I'm going to go through this flow again. So this is a template trigger prompt flow with automatic inputs because we're using it in a prompt template. I'm selecting field generation template capability, and I'm setting account as object because I'm looking at all the cases in the account. I'm looking to get a contact information in this case, where account ID on a contact is equal to the account ID where we're posting the summarization. I want to pull all the contact information, and similar to the logic we just follow, I want to see if there are any cases, any contacts on the account. If there are not, again, I want to not do anything. I'm just telling the prompt there are no contacts found. If I do have contacts, again, I'm going to go through the loop. I'm going to go through each of these contacts, and then I'm capturing the information I want to summarize. What's the information I want to get from the contact? It's not a lot. I want to get the last name, first name, and an email in case we want to contact a customer regarding the case. So I have two flows now. Let's look how we can use this in a prompt builder. So I'm going to go to the prompt builder again. This is a different prompt, and it's called Summarize Open Cases. And you will see that this time I'm not going to store the information in the field. My object type is account. I'm summarizing cases on the object. I'm going to use this with an agent. So I'm structuring this slightly different. So I'm starting in the same way. I'm saying that I want to summarize cases to look at a specific account. As always, I'm grounding the information in the specific resource, account name. I'm picking that by going to the resource, account, and account name. Hopefully this helps you remember when you do this at home. And then I want to give more specific input to the LLM. I'm saying I want to have one paragraph with 2,000 characters. I want to have a straightforward language. I don't want to have any redundancy. I'm pulling the information about the case that I want to see, things like case description, case number, case priority. But I'm also adding the information here about the customer. I'm telling LLM, include the information about the customer, and the information that I want to see is the first and last name. I'm also including the contact email that we just saw in the flow in case we want to provide that information for the agent for using this. And I'm also adding a little bit of tweak because this is going to be used by a customer agent support. I want to provide a next steps as well. So I want the LLM to suggest what my next steps be for this specific cases. And to ground the information, I'm using these two flows that I built. I'm using case summarization flow for case information and then contact detail flow for contact information. So let's test this and see how it works. I'm going to pick up an account name and then click on preview to see my results. So for this specific account, we have two open cases. I can see that my flow is working. I get all the information about the case that I need. I'm seeing the date for the case. I'm seeing subject, priority, and everything else. But I'm also seeing that I have a contact information included, and that is what I wanted. In my case, my contact is the same for both cases, but that's what I was asking for. I was asking for first name, last name, and email. And if you look at the response, this is what we get. I also see that at the end, I actually have a suggestion of what to do with these cases. I have two next steps for each of these cases. So if it looks good, again, we're going to save it, we're going to activate it, and now we're going to use this with an agent. How do we use this with an agent? Well, we built an agent action. Okay, we're going to go to the agent builder now. This is an agent studio. I have an agent. I'm going to click on an agent. And because I want to show you how this is built, we're going to open it in a builder. So when you open an agent builder, you'll have this specific topic. Remember, we talked about grouping the agents. Sorry, the actions. So this is a case management topic. I'm setting up this topic specifics. And I'm telling that this is a topic that should be invoked when we talk about the case summarization, when we talk about the customer support. I want to have information about the case, maybe look at the case comment, and you can look at new and existing cases. And I'm giving the instructions to LLM, and you're going to see this in action in a minute. I'm repeating, I don't want to use the case ID. This is not information that's useful for me. I want to provide specific information about the cases. I want to make sure that I have the contact information when I'm providing a case I want to have a specific tone as well. So these are all the things that you define in a topic to make sure that LLM is following your instructions. How do we actually have these actions? Let's look at the topic actions. For this specific agent, I actually have 7 actions. And if you see, the first one are actually flow. So let's look at the first one. And it's called get all cases for contact. So this is just an auto launch flow. And I'm checking if the contact that I'm giving to this flow actually exists. Is this a real contact? If it is, I'm going to pull all the cases for this contact by checking if the contact ID is equal to the case ID, contact ID on the case. And I'm pulling all the cases, right? That means I'm storing information in a collection variable. This is a collection of records that I'm pulling. And I'm storing some of the fields that I want to enclose in the summarization. So this is flow that gets all the cases for a contact. Let's look at the second one. This one gets case by case number. It's a similar flow. It's an auto launch flow that looks if this contact exists. But in this case, I'm getting only one case. I'm not getting the collection. I'm looking if this contact ID is equal on the contact ID on the case, but I'm also looking that the case number I'm providing exists on that case record. And in this case, I'm storing only one record that I want to show, including these fields I want to summarize. So you can see when we talked about having similar flows to be used in actions, this is why we do it. And then in the last action, we actually have this prompt builder that we created. So let's see this in action. We're going to ask agent to give us a summary of all open cases on the account. So we're typing our prompt into the agent. And in the middle panel, you can see what's happening with the agent. We can actually see what's being executed. So when we type the prompt, we can see that our topic was selected. Our case management topic was selected, and we get a response based on our instructions. We need to provide an account name. So we're giving an account name in a chat. We're going to say that the account name that we want to see open cases for is Sunshine Media. And then this is where magic happens. You are pulling the information based on what you specifically built. So on the side panel, we will see the result, and you might recognize the result. This is what we've just seen in a prompt template. So for this specific account, we have cases, we have 2 cases, we have information about the cases, we have information about the contact that we just pulled in, and we also have the next steps. If you look at the middle panel, we can see that we had an agent action that was identify a record by name. We provide the account name. And then we can see this PB summarize open cases, which is our prompt template action that we created, being executed. So the result that you're seeing is the result that you already tested in a prompt template. So this is what your customer support will see if they prompt an agent to help. So if you think what I shared is a lot, buckle up. Because we're going to see the true power of flow. So as a reminder, we build a prompt template, we build an agent action with flow and prompt template, and now we're going to use this agent and invoke it in the flow. And before we proceed, I want to go back to this prompt template action that we just created. So we've seen how the prompt template is created, but let's see how we create an agent action from the prompt template. So to do that, I'm going to open an agent action page. And we can look about how this action was set up. So you can see that I have the summarize open cases name. I have a reference action type as a prompt template. And I have an instructions that I'm giving to the agent saying, when you are being asked to summarize open cases, this is the action you want to invoke. We just saw that in action. And because we have something that we're giving to the agent and something that we're getting as a response, we have to look at inputs and outputs. So similar how you do when you work with flow. Input in my case is account name. We're giving the account name to the agent, telling this is what we want to summarize cases on. And because it was something that we're giving, we're marking this to be required for input. We can provide summarization in the case we don't have information about the account. Citation mode is a way you're providing this information to the agent. So in this case, this is a text. And because we need this information, we're also requiring input. output is something that agent is giving back to us. So this is what we want to focus on. Our output here is the response from the prompt that we want to use. And because we want to use this in the conversation, we're marking it checkbox showing conversation. Citation in this case is an action, an Apex class that is being executed on the back end. How do I use this? Well, let's say we have a record trigger flow that's called update support request summary. This flow runs on the case object. Each time this case is created or updated, and I want to look if the case was changed, but the status of the case is not closed. And because I'm updating information on the account, I want to set up this as an action and related records flow. So information I need is information about the account. So I'm going to get record element and pull information about the account. ID of that account should be equal of the account ID on the case. And I'm going to pull one record. And then this is where my mind gets blown. You created an agent, you activated an agent, and now you have an agent action by default available for you in your org. So this is an agent that you created. This is an action, how you invoke the agent. You give a label, summarize open cases on the account. This is what we're doing. And then for the input, you are giving an English language input, saying, I want to have a summarize open cases on the account. And again, we're grounding this information by listing this get account info that we're getting from the get element for the accounts. This is everything you have. That's all you have to do. You want to store this information, right? So we're manually assigning the variable, and we're storing the output from the agent in this variable. And here's the quirk. The agent is giving us response in the JSON format. It can be read, but it's not really nicely formatted. So we have a really small invocable action. This is the power of Apex and Flow. It's called process agent response. And the only input I'm giving it is this JSON input I'm getting from the agent. And I want to parse that, and I want to have a nice human readable form and store that into a variable. And then once I have that variable that's like nicely formatted response, I want to update the field on the account. So I'm choosing this account that was selected when I get case records, and I'm using this support request summary field to assign this value. So because I want to follow the best practices, I also have a fault path where I'm handling this customer error. How do you test flow? By clicking on the debug. Let's see what happens. So we're going to test this case and see what happens when the case is updated. I'm selecting the record that I want to test, and I make some changes. Let's say I want to change the case origin to email. Clicking on run, and on the side panel, we're going to see the steps that are executing in this flow. So we can see how the interview started. We provided a specific case ID. We see this case actually matching our criteria. We're getting the account info related to this case. And then we're pulling this information and putting it to agent through our prompt. And this is what we get. So we're asking agent to summarize, and as an output, we actually have the information. And you can see what I talked about. This is not nicely formatted. It's readable, but like it's in a JSON format. So I'm using this JSON output. I'm giving that to my invocable action. And what I'm getting as a response, and you will see that in real life, not just a debug. So what I get as a response is something that's nicely to read. It can be nicely formatted as well. And with this nicely formatted output, I'm just assigning the value to the account field. So pretty good. Let's see this in action. We have an account record. Oh, sorry, before we go, I want to show you just a little bit of invocable action. This is a small invocable action that is getting this JSON input, parsing it, and just putting it out. I can share this code with you. I can show you a link for the unofficial asset blog where you can use this Apex action. You can find it in the resources I'm going to share at the end. But let's see this in action. So this is account. Remember, I have this support request summary field, and this field is empty on this specific record. So I'm going to go to cases. I'm going to select one of the open cases, and I'm going to make an update. Let's say I'm changing the type of this case. We thought it was a question, but now it's more of a problem. So I'm going to change the type. I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to look what happened with the account record. And if you scroll down, you can see my field was populated in a nicely formatted way. I have information about 2 open cases. I have all the information about the cases. And I also have these next steps that included contact information, first name, last name, and an email. So I shared a lot today. I know those things. But let's summarize what we've done. So we built template-driven prompt flow. We use that flow to ground information in the real data in the prompt builder. We then used a prompt template builder and then used flow and create agent actions. We activated the agent and talked to the agent, and then we used that agent and invoked it from the record-trigger flow. Sounds like magic, right? So before you go home, and I hope everyone here just tries this, because now you have a developer sandbox with Agentforce, so there is no excuse for you not to put your hands on us. I want to remind you about 3 things. First, think about designing flows that are modular, reusable, and scalable. And I would say this goes not just for the AI automation, this goes for all the flows that you build. Think about how you can combine flow with an AI to make the best results and make sure that you have these intelligent workflows where it makes sense. And also, before we start building, I always love to remind you this. Remember what you have to do. You have to outline your business process and see how this fits your modular flows. And this is not where your learning starts. So I have a QR code here. I have a lot of resources. Some are hands-on modules, some are articles. You can scan this, you can take a photo, and continue learning at home. These slides are going to be available for you after the session as well, so in case you want to come back and look some of these, you can. And with that, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today.